Angel Reese. Angel Reese has gotten herself in a little bit of hot water.
Angel Reese just endured another loss. And just when it looked like things couldn't get any worse, they did. Caitlin Clark was in New Orleans doing business like a pro, while Reese was chasing clout at the Super Bowl. But instead of a victory, it backfired severely.
But to be versatile. I mean, obviously I'm a fashion girly, Vogue cover, Met Gala committee, I just want young girls to know anything is possible. You can do whatever you put your mind to. Growing up, I was always into fashion. I was always into taking pictures, taking my mama clothes. Now she be stealing my clothes. Just being able to be super versatile, unapologetic, on and off the court, and just tapping into it. So I love the culture girlies, obviously. Coyle Ray is my girl.
Instead of preparing for her upcoming unrivaled game, where she still struggles to make a basic layup, Angel Reese thought her best option was to attend the year's largest sporting event. But rather than creating headlines for the right reasons, she attempted to capture the attention with a daring fashion choice. And let's just say, it didn't go as planned. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is out here getting her jersey retired, attracting more viewers than Reese's whole unrivaled season. The contrast between these two could not be clearer. So let's speak about it.
He's a 6-foot guard from West Des Moines, Iowa, the reigning WNBA Rookie of the Year, and the greatest of all time, number 22, Caitlin Clark.
You'd think a guy having trouble making a basic layup would be at the gym. You'd expect someone preparing for another unrivaled game, where, let's be honest, no one is watching, to be focused. But not Angel Reese. Instead, she turned up for the Super Bowl, generating headlines for all the wrong reasons and attempting to grab the attention. Unfortunately, that did not work.
Unrivaled, make sure y'all tap in with Unrivaled. Pull up to some games, 3-on-3 the hottest. Stewie and Nafisa started the league, but we're all investors, so make sure y'all come to some games if y'all in Miami.
What was the aim here? To go viral. To make a statement. Whatever it was, it flopped. Instead of upping her game, Angel Reese made herself appear desperate. Rather of working hard to develop, she's out, here pursuing clout, demonstrating she's more of a social media celebrity than a basketball player. Let's speak about the irony. She had the chutzpah to call out a teammate for not sharing the ball, while being the worst ball hog in the WNBA. How does this work? You don't pass, you don't finish at the rim, and now you're here at the Super Bowl looking for attention? Make sure it makes sense.
So, happy Superb Owl Sunday for all of those who celebrate. And for Caitlin Clark, who's obviously at the game, she's going to have the most superb of all the owls. Because not only is she at the game, there was a huge Nike commercial being centered around Caitlin Clark and others.
Now compare it to Caitlin Clark. While Angel Reese was making headlines for all the wrong reasons at the Super Bowl, Caitlin Clark was in New Orleans, dressed appropriately, and taking care of business. There is no clout chasing, no forced viral moment. Just focus on what really matters. Her work. The distinction could hardly be more evident. One is all about the grind. The other, simply pursuing the spotlight.
And then I'm gonna have but I'm a cut and resign. You know they be waving and resigning. Chicago Sky, they know I'm a GM.
The outcomes speak for themselves. Caitlin Clark's jersey retirement attracted more viewers than Angel Reese's whole unrivaled season. Rated again. People are more interested in celebrating one night of Caitlin's magnificence than watching an entire season of Angel's so-called basketball career. Why? Because Caitlin Clark cares about the game. She's out here shattering records, honing her talents, and making sure that when she gets on the court, everyone wants to watch. Angel Reese, on the other hand? She's gained a new nickname, the Rebound Queen, because she exclusively catches her own missed shots. Of course, Angel will turn this into another victim tale. That's her entire brand now. Instead of becoming better, she'll sit on her podcast with her mother and scream about how unfair the league is to her. The author focuses on politics, racism, and sexism, but fails to acknowledge her own lack of competence. Instead of focusing on finishing at the rim, she would rather complain about pay, endorsements, and anything else that earns her attention on social media. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark keeps winning, both on and off the court.
To breathe new life into a struggling brand. After losing market share to Hoka and others, the company's turned to the meteoric rise of women's sports, particularly women's basketball, to spark a comeback. I don't know why they didn't do everything they could to get Caitlin Clark literally in the door. I reckon you could have got Caitlin Clark a year ago. You couldn't have got Caitlin Clark, I don't think, before the WNBA season. They should have been designing that logo a year ago. They should have had 100 prototypes ready for Caitlin and being like, we've made about 100 of these for you. The reason is we want your signature shoe out this year.
At the end of the day, the disparity between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese is staggering. One is dedicated, respected, and smashing records. The other? She's out here humiliating herself at the Super Bowl, begging for attention, as her own league's popularity plummets. Angel Reese can continue to weep on her podcast, play the victim, and chase clout. But the fact is that Caitlin Clark is on a different level. What about the gap? It is just growing larger.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. How are you?
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So you're a super smart guy. I have to ask you, what's the smartest thing you've ever done?
Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese may have started the WNBA together in 2024, but that's where their similarities end. Is it even appropriate to compare these two? Laughable. Caitlin Clark is a once-in-a-generation star whose work ethic, skill, and impact go beyond the sport. Angel Reese? She is barely skilled enough to be relied on by her own squad.
Yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that. Like, it's not just because of one person. A lot of us have done so much for this game, and Kennedy has been here before, obviously, but there are so many great players in this league that have deserved this for a really, really long time, and luckily, it's coming.
Comparing Angel Reese to Caitlin Clark is an insult. To her, one is revolutionizing the sport by attracting millions of new fans. The other, struggling to remain relevant, playing the victim and pursuing social media clout above genuine success. Caitlin Clark's commitment is unparalleled. She practices on her birthday, while Angel Reese is out making excuses. This is the difference between genius and mediocrity. When Caitlin Clark goes on the court, she's focused, fine-tuning her talents, honing her art, and always improving. That is why she continues to smash records. That's why she continues to draw large crowds. That is why she stands out.
He's a 6-foot guard from West Des Moines, Iowa, the reigning WNBA Rookie of the Year, and the greatest of all time, number 22, Caitlin Clark!
The Angel Reese is constantly whining about not receiving the same respect, deals, and affection. But here's the truth. She didn't deserve it. Respect is not given. It is earned. And when you're more concerned with being a social media celebrity than with winning basketball games, you can't complain when the rest of the world loses interest.
What's that?
Big Mama?
Made mine a double QPC, but a double queen. Now she blocked it.
Women's basketball has always struggled to gain traction in the mainstream. Aside from die-hard devotees, few people paid notice. Viewership was poor, engagement was low, and the sport just wasn't creating waves. Then Caitlin Clark occurred. Let's be honest, she did more than merely raise the bar. She rewrote the script. Over 1 million people tuned in simply to see her college jersey retire. Consider this. A wedding attracts more viewers than most WNBA games. Meanwhile, Angel Reese's games on Unrivaled fail to reach 100,000 spectators. The stats speak for themselves. The contrast between Clark and Reese isn't just significant, it's startling. One is engaging audiences, inspiring young athletes, and creating history. The other is looking for solutions but rather of adjusting. She is pointing fingers. Reese had an undeniably successful collegiate career. But at the professional level, things are different, and she is currently being exposed. Clark.
I just have nothing but great things to say about who she is as a person. You know, she's so welcoming and just so warm as an individual that she can have a conversation with anybody. She's cut from the same cloth as me in that regard. You know, us Midwesterners, we tend to just, you know, accept everybody with open arms. And she was so kind to my family and everyone in the suite when she came to KC. So huge fans of Caitlin Clark in my family.
On the other hand, is flourishing. She is not only a member of the discourse, she is the conversation. Because of her, women's basketball is now receiving the attention it has long deserved.
You are criticized or critiqued in a different way than your peers.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn that as a parent and everything. And so I just take it with a grain of salt. And as I say, a lie doesn't care who tells it. Yeah. So I'm
the
just
real
like,
no.
Yeah, engage. It's engaged.
And Angel Reese? She's simply another player, and spectators are already losing interest. The difference between her and Caitlin Clark isn't just wide, it's widening by the day. But here's the thing, Reese's entitlement didn't appear out of nowhere. It has been strengthened for years. Just listening to her mother's podcast explains why she feels she deserves more than she has earned. Instead of confronting the truth that her performances aren't up to par, she and her mother continue to promote the same stale narrative, that she's a victim and that the system is against her. But the fact is simple. The WNBA recognizes achievement, not mere presence. Right now, Reese isn't delivering.
Mabry comes up with the board. Long pass, perfect to Reese. She was unable to get it in.
Here's a reality check. You're not paid to complain. You are paid for providing outcomes. If you're going to quarrel about your compensation, take a time to examine your real contribution to the league. Because let's be honest, if you get on the court and provide a mediocre performance, how long do you think people would stay to watch? 2 hours of terrible basketball isn't likely to draw a large audience. Networks invest in what sells, and the WNBA is now competing for every viewer. Why would broadcasters continue to cut checks if players cannot shoot, finish, or create excitement? What is the harsh truth? Networks are losing money, and Angel Reese's lackluster performances are not helping.
Spinning, and as the shot clock expires, the ball goes out of bounds and it belongs to New York.
Here's something Angel Reese and many of her contemporaries refuse to admit. The WNBA isn't lucrative. It has relied on NBA money for decades, yet it remains in the red. That indicates that each WNBA player's salary exceeds the league's budget. These teams cannot maintain themselves. They are losing money. Without NBA financing, the WNBA would not exist. So when Reese complains about not being paid enough, what exactly is she asking for? More money from a league that is already deeply in debt? Higher wages when clubs can barely pay their current ones? Does she expect networks to continue putting money at a product that is losing popularity? The fact is that the WNBA is already paying her more than she is worth in commercial terms. Instead of appreciating it, she demands more, while providing less.
Is unmeasurable. And I've spent my entire career trying to empower young women. That's what it's all about. But you've done more of that in the last 4 years than anybody could imagine. I've always said, if you can see it, you can believe it.
This only adds to Caitlin Clark's incredible circumstance. The WNBA has finally found a player that draws millions of viewers, sells out venues, and actually engages fans in the game. But instead of capitalizing on her star power, the league is too preoccupied with politics, pandering to entitled players like Angel Reese, rather than focusing on the one athlete who is genuinely shifting the needle. If the WNBA misses this chance because it is more concerned with internal agendas than expansion, they will have only themselves to blame when the league collapses.